Alright, so it occurred to me yesterday that if I don't get this done and filmed and edited and up online, that you'll be a week or so late. So I went ahead and did it yesterday, so here we go. So my goal is just to get the leaves they're all embedded down in the grass, just to sit up on top of the grass, because then the mower will come and suck them all up. The mower will have a tough time getting to these leaves that are tucked way down inside of here. So as you're going, you're going to find these spots. It looks like a spot that I tried to seed last year. It just didn't quite take. It might have just died. You can see some of the seedlings came up, but they survived. It just didn't get quite good enough coverage. There's probably seed down there that still hadn't germinated. Alright, so after I kind of lift all the leaves up, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen my lawnmower blade, because you want the best chance of chopping up as much of the leaves as possible. So on this one I like to get the gas side up. This is a 14 millimeter. You want a nice surface to work on. Just kind of makeshifting something here. But what you want to do is just dress up the blades. They don't have to be razor sharp. So you really want to keep this profile here. So what I do is just kind of watch where it's shiny. A bench grinder would be a lot better for this. But that's all you really need to do. So you really want to knock down these chips in the blade. I don't like taking tons out, so I just slowly take more and more out over the season. It's not really removing a lot of material, and I'm not getting it super razor sharp. It is sharper significantly, but it's not, you don't want to get it too sharp to where they become very brittle. That's all I do to them. Just dress them up. I can feel that it's sharp. I didn't need to cut my hand sharp, but it's definitely sharper than it was. And mostly just getting as much of the grass clippings and stuff off too. All right, so you got to kind of remember when you took it apart how this went on. This is the upper blade, this is the lower blade on this. All right, so I got them sharpened. Take this, put it back on. You really want to keep your hands clear of the blade. The blade, it could kick. So that's really what I do to get my lawnmower ready for the season. Oops. Not a bad idea too to go ahead and check your oil now. I'll flip the rag over to a clean side. The oil is in safe range with those little hash marks, so we're good. Could change it. I might change it this evening, but I want to wait until the engine's hot to do that. Next thing you really want to check is your air filter. I broke this little tab years ago. I plastic welded it and it popped back off again. Oh. You can replace these. I generally just clean it. Alright, so now that I've got all the leaves kind of lifted up, I'm going to go ahead and run my mower over them. I'm going to drop my mower down one notch from where I cut it at last season's height. So with this type of grass, you want to keep your mower all the way up. Really, any cool season lawn likes to be mowed as high as possible. Alright, so you're not going to get all of it up. There's still going to be some leaves down here and some low spots. And what I was doing was picking some of those out to try and run them over. But get your rocks out too. There's significantly less leaves, so we're going to get better coverage with our pre-emergent. Alright, so next we're going to do our pre-emergent, but first we're going to be doing Tenacity. But first what I'm going to do is put a little bit of water in my sprayer and practice on my driveway to show you kind of how to practice. So you pull this little valve and that'll bleed all the pressure. Now, I don't leave mine pressurized over winter. It's a good way to blow all the seals out. I just had a little bit of chemicals mixed up still from last season and I spread it on all my rock garden area. Alright, so we're just going to put a little water in here. I don't need much. So you can buy a blue dye that you put down with your chemical. I've never used it. I've just used this method of practicing on the driveway to kind of get a good feel for even coverage. Nothing's perfect. All right, so you're just gonna take your pump sprayer, pump it up a bit. Whenever you're spraying, you want to try and set this on the finest mist possible. At the beginning of the season, your tip might clog up, so you might have to take it off and kind of clear it. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of practice going about 2.5 foot wide runs. So I'm turning the sprayer on all the way, and I'm just trying to get somewhat even coverage. You know, I don't want this spot like that there. We get a little too fast. So you just take the water and just kind of practice. That's one way I do it. Alright, so Tenacity is really easy. I'm going to shake the bottle up really well. If you start getting down to the end of it, it does get a little harder to get it out. So this is a 2 gallons pump sprayer. So let's see right here on the side, 2 gallons. So with this stuff, you do to right there for 2 gallons of water. This is a 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. So one thing I like to kind of do is get this thing wet, and that'll aid in it kind of moving. So now it moves a little easier. So it is kind of difficult when you get down to the end of your Tenacity. You kind of have to get creative to get it out of there. So I usually take a little bit more than I need. And then kind of purge as much of the air as possible. And it's not an exact science. We're close enough. So we need 2 gallons of water. So we're at the 1 mark there. So this stuff does go a very, very long way. Now I'm just going to go ahead and fill it up with water to the 2 gallon mark. Hopefully right there. I can turn my water off. All right, now I got it pumped up. Now I'm just going to walk, and what I try to do is, it's easier to do later in the season, especially after you stripe your yard, but I usually try and go 2 spots where the mower went. So that's another reason I kind of like running the mower to chop up the leaves, because you give you some lines in the grass. So I try and do this from here to here, which is the first 2 spots, and you can really see that well when you're standing out here. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but you get a little overlap. The area you really want to pay particular attention to is the area right adjacent to the driveway. You really want to get some down right down inside of there, because that's where the weeds are going to try and propagate. So the weeds are going to be carried with seeds, and they're going to kind of come off the concrete and into your yard. And that's really where they're going to start, is on the edges. So you really want to pay particular attention to the edges and get that coverage really heavy. All right, so you're likely going to have a lot of spots that are bare. Now, keep in mind, planting grass in the spring is the worst time to plant grass, absolute worst, because especially here in the Midwest, the root system of the grass just doesn't get established enough to take off and make it through the heat of the summer. So to give it the best chance to kind of make it, really you're almost wasting your effort if you're filling in a spot bigger than what you're putting your hands down like this. But you know, you can try, right? Now if you have irrigation, which I don't, then that's a whole different scenario. You can just continue to irrigate and you'll be fine. What I do is just grab some of my grass seed and then lightly sprinkle it over the bare spot. And when I say lightly, I usually go a little heavy. And just kind of spread it out if it's not. And then what I like to use is this stuff called lawn soil. And I actually buy this at Lowe's. I don't really buy any of my other grass products at Lowe's. This is called Stay Green lawn soil with fertilizer. You can just get whatever. It doesn't have to be name brand. This stuff's all the same. So this is a mix of dirt and mulch. And what I like to do is just grab it in my hand like this, like a handful, and then just lightly cover it. Just enough to cover the seeds. You don't want to go and put a ton on. You really just want to cover the seeds so one, the birds don't see it. Two, if we get a heavy downpour, the mulch inside of here will help the grass or the dirt stay there, and it'll keep your seed put from running off, because like this is literally right next to the road. So the water is going to try and run it all off. The last thing that it does is this holds moisture. So the dirt will dry up really fast, but all of the mulch will hold more moisture and keep this area moist, and it'll increase your germination rate. This area should germinate and have seedlings within about 2 weeks. So now you're going to want to come out and water these spots once a day or so until then, for about 2 weeks. So you'll have to go around your yard and find these spots and do this, and then water. You got to put a little work in, but you're going to get results back. Again, this is really better in the fall than it really is in the spring. You're almost fighting a losing battle unless you have irrigation. So later on in the season, when it gets hot, we are going to try and use another chemical that holds moisture. So that's going to help too. But it's very difficult, at least in the Midwest, to grow grass in the spring. It's not impossible, but it's much harder than in the fall. Best for bang for buck, wait until the fall. So if you're local to the St. Louis area, I don't buy a lot of my lawn products from Lowe's. This is just grass seed. It's a 5-way fescue, and I buy it from this place called Belleville Seed House. Look for a landscaping supplier, Site One. is one that's all around the country, or anybody that supplies seed. Belleville Seed House supplies seed to local farmers and stuff, so they have grass and different types of seed for farming. So they buy in much higher volume, and so your pricing's better, and then the quality, in all honesty, is that much better too. You don't have as many weed seeds mixed in with the grass seed, so it's important, because if you're continuing to put down grass seed that's mixed with weed seeds, you're just fighting yourself. So you want to get good quality seed at a good price. And you really won't see me using anything really Scott's. Scott's is really some of the most over-marketed brand name consumer grade stuff that's out there, and it's just not that good at all. And when I say consumer grade, they kind of dumb down the chemicals. They know you might go a little heavy, and so they don't put as much of the chemicals in there for controlling weeds and stuff. So you're going to spend a lot more. So trust me, go to a Site One or like Belleville Seed House if you're in the local area. You're going to get much better results. Alright, so the last thing I do to get it ready for spring is I put down some Milorganite. You can buy this at Lowe's or a lot of the box stores. It's probably one of the few things that I do buy from the box stores. Belleville Seed House or any of those Site Ones or anything, they have a bigger bag for a little cheaper too. That's a pro bag, so sometimes I'll buy that too. I usually set this style on like 9 or 10 or so with this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and spread some fertilizer. Now the reason I like this stuff is it's non-burning. And what that means is you really can't put too much of this stuff down. It won't. If you put too much of other fertilizers down, you can have some problems with your yard. It'll burn your grass. So not with this stuff. So this fertilizer spreader actually has a little setting on the side or on the back. It's called edge guard. So when I'm going around the edge of stuff, it puts this little deflector here so you don't throw a bunch of your fertilizer on the concrete. So that's kind of a setting I use when I'm doing the perimeter. So I usually do the perimeter first with that on, and then I come back and open and shut that off and then just broadcast the rest of it. That's really about it on spreading this stuff. After I'm done, I'm just gonna take my blower and blow as much of it as possible back into the grass. So real easy. All right, so I got the edge guard on. Now it does put it down pretty heavy. So I'm gonna turn the edge guard back off, add a little bit more, and do the rest of the yard. All right, so really there's only 3 types of different pre-emergents that I use. I use Tenacity that we used earlier, and then this is prodiamine. So this is ripped unfortunately, but this is the only example I have on me. Prodiamine, and then the other chemical is Diplofor. You can get them in liquid or you can get them in granular. This happens to be prodiamine in granular. Now, the problem with prodiamine or Diplofor is you cannot seed with it. You're going to kill whatever seed you try and plant. So the only thing that you can really seed with, at least in the Midwest, is Tenacity. So that's why I went with Tenacity. But prodiamine is another great one. If you've gotten your yard established enough. I had a couple spots that I had to fill in, so I didn't go with prodiamine, but I have used prodiamine quite a bit in the past, and I really like it. So if you're not going to do any seeding, prodiamine, you can put that down right now, and then you could go with Diplofor, or you can alternate. We could go with Diplofor in the spring and then prodiamine over the summer. either way, they're both great, but that allows you to put 2 applications of it down and not exceed the chemical rate. So like the EPA has established amounts that you can put down per year on soil. So if you were to put prodiamine down twice, you may exceed that rate. So, but prodiamine, Diplofort, or Tenacity. Tenacity if you're seeding. All right, and the last thing you got to do is water your fertilizer and your pre-emergent in. You give about 5 minutes or so of watering. You don't need a lot of water to water it in. 5 or 10 minutes. So just gonna go around and let it water in. It's also gonna feed some of the seed as well, kind of help get that started. So that's kind of my process for opening in the spring, and hope you enjoyed the video.